Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen, and this is my life as a landlord. It is really interesting when I learn what people's whys are. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking all about bucket lists and bucket list items. Why on earth is this important? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a few things. We're going to talk about what lights you up. We're going to talk about me and Mike's bucket list, and I'm going to give you a few secrets on how I am recording this sitting in a New Zealand hunting lodge after Mike shot a red stag today with a bow. That's his bucket list item. So let's get into it, and I hope that you learn something for your bucket list. So let's get into this. So first, different people want different things, right? People are different, and so why on earth do people want to have, bucket list items? They want to go to Australia, they want to go to China, go to the Great Wall of China, they want to travel, or they want to write a novel, or they want, to ride their bike across, China or something. I mean, I don't know, but whatever it is, everybody is a little bit different. And I think that's what is so unique. But one of the things I always look at when people say, oh, that's a bucket list item, that's a bucket list item, they find out that we live on Maui. Oh, I would love to go to Maui. And I always look at them and I say, it's just a plane ticket. It's just a plane ticket. But to them, it's a much bigger deal. Why? Because to them, it's a bucket list item. And so there's an emotional tag to it. So if you pull that emotional cord that is tied to that item, what happens? So I have to ask, what lights you up? What lights you up? What do you find joy in? What is your why? What do you do? Is it for your children? Is it for you? Is it for you to provide something to your children? Is it for you to experience something? Is it for you to accomplish something? It is completely different for every single person. And there is no right or wrong answer. It's whatever feels good for you, whatever lights you up, which is pretty interesting. So let's see. I'll talk a little bit about what is on my bucket list, what's on Mike's bucket list, and then we'll get into some of the hints of where you can start. If you're still searching on what's on your bucket list, I have a kind of a game plan on what's worked for us and what happens when we tick a bucket list item off the list like we did today. Then what? So first, my bucket list. Now, this is not all inclusive. I was just trying to figure out how was I going to record a podcast while we are at Gary Herbert's New Zealand hunting safari? How are we going to do this? And so I figured this out, and I there might be some other hunters that come in. So if they do, I might retreat to my room. But my bucket list includes Egypt. I love Egyptology. I love the technology innovation. I think it's really fun. So hi guys. Hi. So got the folks coming back from day tripping, which is fun. So Egypt is definitely on my bucket list. Also, I did a bucket list item last year, or was it? No, it was about 18 months ago. So we were in Europe and we had a few extra days, just enough time to do something else. And so we had about 3 days extra. And Mike goes, could you do Egypt in 3 days? And I said, oh, there's no way I can do Egypt in 3 days. So I was able to, he said, well, name it. I said, if you can go anywhere in the world, what would you do? And I said, I would like to go to London and I'd like to see the Rosetta Stone. Now, for those of you who do not know what the Rosetta Stone is, the Rosetta Stone is at the British Museum and it is the same paragraph written in 3 different languages. So it's written in Sanskrit, I think it's written in Latin. I could be wrong. Maybe it's written in Greek. But the biggest one is it's in the hieroglyphics. And it is what unlocked the translation for the hieroglyphics. And so this is why when, if they see somebody finds a wall of some kind, they can actually translate what it means is because of the Rosetta Stone. So there's 3 different languages all on the same stone. You might have heard of the language company called Rosetta Stone. Well, guess what? It's named because of the Rosetta Stone. So the stone is about, 4 feet high, 2 feet wide, about 8 inches thick. And it's in the British Museum, which I know is a bit controversial, but that's where you have to go to see it. And I was blown away that when I said, I want to go to London, I want to go to the British Museum to see the Rosetta Stone, within 15 minutes, we had the plane tickets booked, we had the hotel room booked, we had everything booked. And actually, it didn't cost that much money because we were watching all the flights. We were actually flying back to British Columbia, and so we were watching WestJet and Air Canada and some of the different flights available, and we were able to figure the whole thing out. We got an Airbnb that was actually quite inexpensive and linked by ground transportation in the form of a train, and that linked to the underground, the subway. And so we were able to go all over. We were only there for 2.5 days, but the Rosetta Stone blew my mind. I mean, I was very emotional that day, standing in front of the Rosetta Stone going, this happened. Like this, I named it and this happened. And it is absolutely one of the most amazing artifacts I've ever seen. And I want to go see more mind-blowing things in Egypt. So definitely that is something that I want to do. I would like to go on a world cruise. And I'm not sure how long we want to go yet. We've actually been talking about this for years now, about going on a world cruise, because when you go on a world cruise, it's not like a 7-day cruise where you just sort of go through knowing that you're going to get off in 7 days. If you're going to go for like 3 or 4 months and go to different places, then you have to think of things like haircuts and hair coloring and getting nails done and mail and bills and working out and making sure that your diet isn't too crazy, because, you know, on a cruise, you're going to get a lot of crazy food. It's really interesting. And how do you not get bored? How do you have some semblance of routine? Typically on cruises for Mike and I, we don't ever take the elevator unless we have luggage or if I am wearing heels. Those are the 2 exceptions. The rest of the time, it's the stairs. We're up and down the stairs all day long. We are purposefully walking lots. And so a world cruise is something that we are still talking about, still thinking about. I'm not really sure if we want to do it. It's still lighting us up, but it's kind of like, is there something better that would light us up more? But I have one other thing on my bucket list that I want to achieve. I am and want to become a better international landlord expert. That is my goal. And that's one of the reasons why I'm recording podcasts in New Zealand. We're actually also going back to Australia. We were already in Australia. We're going back. I am recording podcasts all over the place because I want to really let everybody know that the landlording and tenancy laws in your local area, wherever that is, are not the same wherever everyone else is. So if you're thinking of buying a rental in one state or province, but you live in another, guess what? The tenancy laws very likely are different. In fact, they might even be different by city or by regional district or county. Take, for instance, New York City. New York City has all kinds of extra requirements and extra rent control, extra things. So you have to be really mindful of what you're doing before you become an investor there. Or if you know that there's an inheritance potentially coming your way, like let's say an estate is in probate, you should probably brush up, become an expert on tenancy laws on wherever those rentals are. Or you need to really screen a property management company that can help you do that. So, but that's what this podcast is all about. It's about educating people on landlording like a human and being a really good real estate investor by overcoming awkward conversations. That's it in a nutshell. And I want to be the best one on the planet. I want to know that I'm doing the best I possibly can when someone says, hey, I'm a landlord or I'm becoming a landlord. I want to be a better landlord. They think of my life as a landlord first. And one final thing that's a big, big ask. I want to win an award that doesn't exist yet. The Nobel Prizes are something that is really interesting, like the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize for physics and chemistry and all kinds of others. There is a couple of different awards that I think should be added for housing and creating good housing. And I'd like to win that award. Yes, it's a big ask, but guess what? That's what bucket lists are for, and it lights me up. So that's me. But let's talk about Mike's bucket list. Now, just know that we just, had a big bucket list day, shooting a red stag in New Zealand just a few hours ago. I'm sitting in the hunting lodge. In fact, if you're watching this at My Life as a Landlord on YouTube, I'm sitting in the living room, so I will walk around just a bit to show you. You can see that's a big red stag. That's a monster, actually. You've got fallow deer here. I forget what this one is, but they have those here. There's an antelope. I think that's an ibex. I get confused on all these different ones. That one's a chamois, I know that. So if you're just listening, it looks like a big German shepherd that's really furry. Looks like a big furry sheepdog. Then you've got a mouflon sheep, but that might be a different version of it. So if you're a hunter and you know these animals better, don't berate me on this, because I don't know all the animals as well as I should, but they're pretty incredible animals, and this is a pretty incredible place. In fact, I just walked around the entire place here and showed the whole thing. So if you want to look at that, there will be a podcast episode coming up that I got Gary Herbert's permission to walk around, and even in his trophy room, and just see all of it. Now, keep in mind, these animals are bred for this. There is a plan. This is not inhumane in any way, and it's a great employer, and they feed the local population. So just keep that in mind. This is an industry, this is a business, and these employees that are here, they have been here for years. They are incredible. So anyway, I'm not going to sell you on that. Watch the other podcast. So let's talk about Mike. So bucket list item for him, definitely getting a red stag in New Zealand. That's been on his bucket list since I've met him 20 years ago. And so that's achieved today. He's still giddy, and he got it with his bow, 40 yards away. Epic, absolutely epic. He had to army crawl to get close enough that he could use his bow. And of course, he had a guide. That's the whole idea, is that he had a guide. And it was an amazing experience for him. And I show you the stag that Mike got in the other video, so you can see it. But there's one big thing here that I didn't mention yet that you might, if you've been a listener of the show, you know that we have a boat. We have a Sea Ray that lives in Canada off of British Columbia, north of Vancouver. And our boat is a power boat. It's a Sea Ray. She's an old gal, but we love her. And that boat has been on our magic whiteboard for years, 10 years, in fact. And so one of Mike's bucket list items, even before we got the boat, was take the boat to Victoria, British Columbia, on Vancouver Island, very south end of Vancouver Island, in front of the Empress Hotel, and have coffee looking at all of the people walking by from the boat. Very specific, right? So that boat is all part of it. And I just saw him. I happened to ask him, I said, hey, Mike, tell me one more bucket list item that's on your list, because the listeners are going to want to know. And he says that he wants to travel to all 7 continents. He actually wanted to drive his truck through all 7 continents, but now the truck has been sold. So I don't think that's going to happen, but he still wants to go to all 7 continents. So very soon, coming up, I'm thinking 2026, 2027, somewhere in there, we are going to Antarctica to check that box. And we will see about the rest of the continents as we go. As you know, we are in New Zealand. We are going to go back to Australia. So let me flip the page here. We're going back to Australia. So we're getting a few of the continents going. But I have never been to Asia. And even though the 7 continents is not part of my bucket list, half of the fun is to help your partner get the bucket list, which is one of the reasons why I'm on this hunt with him, which is pretty incredible. So you might be wondering, how on earth do you know what you want on your bucket list, right? I just named a few for me, and for the sake of getting this podcast recorded, because we leave in 2 days. So I wanted to make sure I did one here. It's pretty powerful. So if you are asking yourself, how do I know what my bucket list items are? How do I know what my why is? There's plenty of books to help you, and podcasts as well. But if you have not read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, start there. That is like stereo instructions to figure out what you want and how to get it. It talks about affirmations. It talks about your partner. It talks about how to actually make all of this come to life. And what I'm saying is sort of a personification of that has worked for Mike and I. And oh, by the way, one of the reasons Mike and I hit it off so quickly and so well in the beginning was that we both understood and realized very early on that we both knew and loved Think and Grow Rich. So that's the book I always recommend to everybody. So listen or read Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill is incredible, and it was written in 1937. It's game changing. So how do you know what lights you up? So if you are doing a task, or you're thinking about something, or you're thinking about whatever it is you want to achieve, or you want to do, or you want to tackle, or you want to put behind you, whatever it is, whatever makes you feel most alive, whatever that feeling is, go there, and then go there more. Get more specific. Put it as in focused as you possibly can, and then keep going. Remember how I told you about the boat? The boat was on our magic whiteboard, and the magic whiteboard is nothing more than a corkboard in my office that I just had a picture of. But that boat was on our magic whiteboard for 10 years. We knew exactly what we wanted. We knew what we didn't want. I knew I wanted a walkway that walked out the front, that I didn't have to hang on the side of the boat to get to the bow. I knew I wanted to have 2 fridges. There was a couple of different things that I knew, and I also knew that I didn't want it. These are deal breakers. And so this is really important that you get it super in focus. Watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, read books on what it is that you think lights you up. Learn more about it, and keep going. If you like chasing stuff, if you're a hunter, if you like finding a deal, if you like traveling, if you like buying shoes or purses, or you like doing makeup, whatever it is, do more and become more educated on it. And very likely you're going to find something you're going to, you know what, that's what I want. That's what I want to do, or that's what you need to do. I've heard of several people going, I am lit up by this, and somehow, some way, there's a business opportunity in it. So just keep that in mind. But your magic whiteboard will keep you very focused. And this is what people say, a dream board. I've heard it, a poster board. There's a bunch of things you can do. But that's what goes on there. It's not just for the sake of going, yeah, that would be nice, or that would. It's a very, very specific, focused, emotionally tied picture or image or something that really is emotional for you. That's what that is. And so that's what goes on the magic whiteboard. That can be your why. And it's very likely, if you have children, it's very likely your children. That's part of it as well. But what is it about the children that lights you up? Is it seeing their faces light up on Christmas morning because they're getting a puppy? Is it you want to spend more time with them? You want to try, whatever it is, it's not just the kids. It's time with the kids. And I talked with Gary Herbert here while we were at the hunting, trying to figure out, what is it? And he said, money doesn't buy health and doesn't buy time, but money can buy travel opportunities. Now, you don't need a ton of money to do some of this stuff. But what he did was he traveled with his children. And he's a professional hunter, so that's what he did. So they would go on hunting safaris and do hunting things all over the world with the kids. Because guess what? When you travel, you have to be fully present. So you get time with whoever you're with. It's pretty incredible. So back to your why. Let's see. Oh, one question I get. Can these things change? Well, of course they can. Do you know, for years on my magic whiteboard, working with Oprah on a book about business consulting was on my whiteboard. It was on my magic whiteboard, and I took it off. I took it off about 5 years ago. I took it off before COVID. And the reason I took it off is because it wasn't lighting me up anymore. I started learning a little bit more about working, with Oprah and all different, it's nothing against her. It's that it didn't light me up. And so I just said, I don't want to do that. And so I took it off. Now, do I still have a book in motion? Yes, I still have a book in motion. That's on my bucket list, to publish a book. But can they change? Yes, these bucket list items can and will change, and they should change. Just because you want something one day doesn't mean that you're going to want it forever. And sometimes, let's face it, as we age, bucket list items may not be achievable because of our health. Sometimes you can't travel, especially as you get older and you start to have more ailments. You won't be able to get travel insurance. So seize the day, right? But are they going to change? Probably. But should you update them? Yes, you probably should. So it's pretty mind-blowing when you do a bucket list item. It's really mind-blowing. I've had many people say to me, oh, I'd love to go to Maui. I know you live on Maui. I'd love to go to Maui. And I just look at them and I say, it's a plane ticket. That's all it is a plane ticket. And yeah, Jen, okay, but I need money. I need money for a plane ticket. I need time off for a plane ticket. Well, guess what? If you are focusing on your bucket list, there is one really focused reason why I'm doing this podcast. My life as a landlord. Landlording and real estate investing has taken Mike and I a lot of different places physically, financially, and beyond. And so this is one of the reasons why we are here, is because I am actually still working. I'm still doing operations. I'm still doing payroll from New Zealand. Why? Because I'm still a real estate investor. I'm still a landlord, and I'm still a podcaster. But if this is part of the bucket list, for me, this is what I have to do to get my bucket list. If you're saying, oh, I don't have the money, or I can't get time off from my 9-to-5 job, you might want to think about that. If these are really bucket list items that are important to you, life is short. What happens in 20 or 30 years when you get to the end of that job and you have some retirement and you realize that that's not enough retirement to not only live on, to not live on, but it's probably not enough to travel on or to do all the things that you think that you're going to do at the end of whatever it is? You got to think about that, right? But when you do one of those bucket list items, it is really incredible. But the hardest part of the whole thing is figuring out what you want to do. Once you figure out what you want to do, especially, and it's super focused and super sharp, it's like the whole world, the whole universe aligns to start allowing that happen to you. And it's not anywhere near as crazy or as expensive or difficult as you think. It's in your mind. And so doing those things it really is just a plane ticket. So today's episode was all about why people want different things and bucket list items for me and Mike, and then sort of a game plan that might help you understand your why and how you can potentially go places and do things for you beyond just saying, I want to be quote unquote financially free. Financially free to do what? What does that look like for you? So I challenge you at the end of this podcast, make sure you read Think and Grow Rich. Make sure you put the things that light you up, that you are emotionally tied to, that you really want to do, that you're like, if I get to the end of my life and I look back and I had that opportunity and you're filled with regret, that's a bucket list item. That's how you know, is because you go, you know what? I wish I would have. I wish I did. I could have done this and I didn't. Regret is the most expensive pain that we will ever have. Not being poor, regret. Anyway, I'm so happy that you joined me on My Life as a Landlord, special from South Island Museum at New Zealand at Gary Herbert's Hunting Safaris. If you want to know more, his website is www.nzhuntingsafaris.com, or just Google New Zealand hunting and Gary Herbert's name will pop right up. But happy bucket listing. Make sure you have one, and make sure you listen to the other podcast I did, a B-roll where I walk all around this place and talking about the different things that are here and why we're here. It's pretty incredible. Anyway, thanks for listening. Best of luck.